as we ride the Magic the Gathering hype wave into what might be the best-selling Magic the Gathering set of all time, talking of course about universes beyond Final Fantasy, I think it's important to remember our roots and realize that even when everything seems to be going to the moon and everything is absolutely insane and we're having a ton of fun, there are some troubled seas that us as Magic the Gathering fans have to navigate when it comes to exceedingly expensive Magic products. And one of my goals when I started Magic the Gathering content on this channel was to help people like me, people who are just fans, who don't own a game store, that just collect or play or however it is you enjoy Magic, to be better consumers. And for that reason, I want to talk about the 3 most important things to consider before buying in to the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set. We're going to talk about everything today, from price to singles to when these products are coming out and when you should look to get good deals, all of that in today's video. And if you're around here, if this is your first video or your 10th or whatever it might be, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. I think 80% of viewership is still unsubscribed, and for a small channel like mine, that matters a ton. So all right, we got some trials and trepidations to dig into today, and well, I'm really excited to make this video. All right, let's get into it. Now, as we stated before in the intro, we try our best to use all of the data and everything around us and my better part of 2 decades in the trading card game space to just make our hard-earned dollar go a little bit farther. And in that theme, I think it's important with every Magic set to talk about things to consider before buying that product. And Final Fantasy ramps all of these concerns I have up to a 10 or a 15. They're off the charts. When a product is this hype and some of the product is as wildly expensive as it has become, I think it's really important to mind our P's and Q's and really think our purchases through. And the first purchase we're going to talk about today revolves around sealed product. And it's important for us to know that before we buy sealed product, especially Final Fantasy, we need to consider a couple things. First and foremost, part of the money that you are spending on that sealed product, whether you like it or not, is the experience of opening that product. Dollar for dollar, cent for cent, pound for pound, wherever in the world you're from in your local currency, you are never going to get every single dime that you put into a sealed product out of that sealed product. And maybe on occasion you get a hot box here or there, but the overwhelming majority of purchases you make for sealed trading card game product are going to be technically, on paper, financial losses. And it's important to accept that part of this value is opening the product. Now, this breaks down in 2 very big ways. We're going to talk about both the play booster and collector booster for Final Fantasy, and we'll have a whole standalone video for Commander's product coming out. Make sure you stick around for that one. But when it comes to collector boosters first, it's important to remember that you are essentially gambling. Collector boosters, when they are wildly expensive, looking into the past at things like Lord of the Rings, both releases, the Fallout release, and even more recently the things like Ixalign and, to a lesser degree, the recent Dragonstorm, the Tarkir set, these collector boosters feel super hit or miss. There's a certain amount of opportunity to pull something wildly expensive, flashy, and extremely valuable priced into the box itself. And this is because at a grand scale, the massive size of the Magic the Gathering community, so many people can afford to buy so many boxes that these things can create the demand, create the hype, and create the false or maybe even possible opportunity to get something so wild that we see an increase in price chasing after these goodies. Now, if you buy these collector booster boxes, you spend all of that hard-earned money, you open this box without accepting that fact, you have opened yourself up to the opportunity to feel very bad, to spend $600 on a collector booster box and get $250 in value. You have to know that this is what you're getting into when you open the collector booster box. And all booster boxes are, a source of gambling. I hesitate to say gambling because it always sparks a wild conversation in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of Magic the Gathering sealed products down there. But I do think that there's an aspect of this in all TCG booster boxes, but the collector booster box exemplifies it. It blows that up to a 12 out of 10, if you will. But the play booster box has an aspect of that as well, but it's got a bit of an insulation. And we talked about the idea of an experience. And the play booster box, opening these packs, you get 30 packs, you get a lot more pack ripping fun. The packs are less, valuable on a pack by pack basis, so more opportunity to open a pack where you feel like you get your money back. But there's also a value add in the fact that, well, these boxes are meant to be played with. Magic the Gathering is by and far the most played TCG on the planet. So if you're going to buy into a collector booster box, a play booster box, knowing that part of your value is this experience, the sealed box experience, I encourage you to use that experience to play Magic the Gathering. Play some draft, play some limited, play any kind of mashup format that you and your friends can think of with these packs. You still get to open them, you still get all of the cards out of them, but you get the added benefit, the added fun, the added value, if you will, of playing with those cards. And I cannot stress how far this goes. If you are looking to get into Final Fantasy and you want to rip a play box, if you take a little bit extra time, you schedule some time to sit down and enjoy the game and enjoy it with some friends, family, whatever it might be, I think you are going to relish in that experience and it's going to feel a lot better. And at the end of the day, knowing that these boxes are never going to mathematically or mostly never mathematically match up for value spent to value out, having that additional fun, getting that emotional value, getting that, that experience is wildly important. But I know, I already can see you in the comment section. I see you right now. I see you saying, there's absolutely no reason to buy sealed products. It's singles for me. I'm only doing singles and singles forever. And I'm actually not against that. That's totally fine. But when it comes to buying these cards in single form, there's also a good amount of product instability and set instability that we need to prepare for. So when it comes to buying single cards, often we see people saying, hey, this card is going to go down in price because the product just released. This card's going to go up in price. It's undervalued. We see people speccing both directions on these single cards. And when a product is first released, we see the volatility of this effect. A card ramps up in value very quickly or drops off in value faster than you can actually get the card shipped to you from TCG Player. We see this happen over and over and over again. And at release, it's even more, well, let's just call it volatile. Now, with a set like Final Fantasy that is so wildly expensive and going to be so widely open, this volatility is going to be even more extreme than in a normal Magic release. Let's look back at something like Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, kind of I don't want to call it an exact facsimile, but the closest thing we have to what the Final Fantasy release is going to be. And we see cards like Bowmasters and the One Ring being crazy expensive, then going down in price, and then seeing massive ramps over time when you realize how good they were across how many different formats. You couple that with the early speculators saying, oh, the One Ring's in every bundle, it's only going to be a $5 card, and you open yourself up again to this negative emotion, this negative feedback. When it comes to buying these singles, if you are a hardcore speculator, make sure you understand the risk that you're taking. If you are sure that a card is going up, if you are certain that a card is going to go down in value, know that you are there's more at risk than just those financial dollars, that incentive. There is that feeling of, well, while you don't have it, you can't play with it. Or while you do have it, you're checking it every day and it weighs an emotional toll. These things are not free. Magic the Gathering is a very connected hobby. It is something that we look at very often. It's something we are engaged with over and over again. And when things don't swing your way, it does leave us open to something that creates a far less enjoyable experience. So we have to look to accept that. And then we also have to consider something that we just saw happen today. We just saw it's going to be tomorrow, but I'm recording today. You get what I'm saying. There are banned and restricted announcements that affect Magic the Gathering and its cards far more than most TCGs. As Magic the Gathering is the most played trading card game on the entire planet, that means that when a card is banned, restricted, or changed in play for some reason, we see the value of that card almost instantly reflected. I bet today there's a ton of value being added to the Commander, card pool out there as Wizards of the Coast has a big unbanning. More on that later this week on this channel, talking about value and speculating and all that fun stuff and kind of how risky it is. But we have to accept that these are possibilities, and we have to know that when a volatile set is wildly expensive, we are opening ourselves up to the idea of, oh, Wizards got to sell this product, there's going to be power creep. If we buy these cards, they could get banned. All of these things are factored. So make sure before you go all in, before you tell yourself you're going to pay for your college or get all these at a great price, no, this is the risk that you're taking. And the risk that you're taking sometimes isn't even all on you. The last thing I want to consider when it comes to Final Fantasy and whether or not you should buy a product at a certain price and how you should buy that product is all about the release of that product. We're going to look back at Lord of the Rings once again and talk first about the set and draft boosters, which are now play boosters. If you don't know what set and draft boosters are, please let me know in the comment section below, because then I know you are a new fan. I want to make sure I say hi to you, and it makes me feel extremely old. But draft and set boosters for Lord of the Rings stayed roughly the same price for the better part of a year to a year and a half. Now, recently we've seen some uptick on the set booster box, but it just goes to show at a product that was ordered that heavily, you can see a price stability when Wizards of the Coast is incentivized to keep this product on shelves in print. There was no announcement that says this is going to be this way. There's no announcement that says it's going out of print. We just are assuming that it behooves Wizards of the Coast to have a bunch of these boxes around. And for Final Fantasy, I would expect the same thing with play booster boxes. Now, that is to say that you might see play boosters take a small uptick during release, but if you have accepted that risk and said, hey, I do believe play boosters are going to be around for a long time, the next hype cycle is going to come around and I might be able to get this at a slightly more reasonable price, and that's your jam, just make sure it's a thought that crosses your mind. But there is some deviation to that with the collector booster box, and this is widely based around how Wizards of the Coast has printed the collector booster box in recent sets. I've advocated before on this channel, I will advocate again, I think collector boxes should be collectible, but I do think there's probably an accessibility flaw so far. It's way too early, there's no possible way to know. We'll do sales data, we'll do all that fun stuff for the set as we get closer to the release, but an availability flaw, it seems to exist with Final Fantasy collector booster boxes. For the first time in a long time in this channel, I am going to urge and think about it myself to say, hey, if I don't buy this collector booster box now, there does seem to be an opportunity that it doesn't come back around at a cheaper price. Lord of the Rings collector booster boxes released when Magic was in a good spot, but not pumping the way it is right now, and we all expected the box price to tank after the One Ring was pulled, which it did only temporarily, and since then has gone up, up, and up. But there were opportunities in that window to get a better deal when you weren't feeding into the insane hype cycle of the initial release. Now, I believe that could change with Final Fantasy and the perceived printing theory of Wizard of the Coast with collector booster boxes. We don't know that yet, but we have to understand that that is a risk. If we choose to buy now, there's a chance the box value goes down. If we choose to wait, there's a chance the box just isn't available. You have to accept these risks that you're taking and make your decision based on that. Personally, and this is not financial advice, but if you've stuck around this long, this is my personal tactic when it comes to buying Final Fantasy. I believe the collector booster box is going to be hard to come by. I think the collector booster box is going to be a widely valuable product, and I think over time, even if you're buying, at this point, which I would never encourage, don't pre-order right now. I will say that is official advice. It feels too early to pre-order, even with a limited supply, but maybe nobody knows how many boxes are getting. It's insane out there. I really do think there's an opportunity for this box to be hard to come by, and I think it might be risky to wait too long. So when official pre-orders come out, your local game store, your trusted source, or something like MinMax Games, my local game store, friends of the channel, come out and give official pre-orders, then maybe look at doing it then, but it's a little too early. Now, all in all, there's a lot of bumpiness to navigate with the Final Fantasy release. It's whenever something is this hyped or this sought after, we find ourselves in a space for a lot of mistakes to be made, a lot of negative emotions and feels bads to happen, and I want to avoid as many of those as possible. So thanks so much for hanging out. If you like this video, the like button is down there and it's lonely, so give it a click. And furthermore, we are going to track every single sold listing of sealed product for Final Fantasy from TCG Player. That's right, that is sponsored by the channel members here that all support the Cardboard Finance project as we collect all that data, hold on to it, compare and contrast sets and the Magic the Gathering and TCG ecosystem as a whole. So big shout out to all of the channel members. If you want to join, like I said, it's $5 a month. It helps support everything I do around here. And I'm going to link another video that I think you'll like. I try to handpick a video that is something to do with the theme of what we talked about. I'll put it, I think it's over here. Maybe it's not over here. Thanks so much for hanging out. Until next time, you guys know me. My name is Josh, and we'll see you around. All right, goodbye.